What's going on, Ian? Ladies and
How
gentlemen,
are you?
welcome back to the number one most valuable real estate community in existence. We're here with Ian Ross today with Close More Sales, objection proof selling. How are you doing today, Ian?
I'm good. Doing well, John.
Fantastic, fantastic.
Are we hopping on camera? Am I showing off my beautiful white wall background in my basement? Or are we just doing it via audio?
Let's run it.
Whatever you want.
There he is.
Where- I'm feeling old. Where am I supposed to see myself? What am I missing?
On the
Uh,
Discord, do you see yourself, your camera there?
yeah, yeah.
Perfect. Wow, we got 48 people signed up. We're ready to go. I'm going to
Oh,
send you
there
the
we go.
ping out
There we
now.
go. I got it now. I was clicking on the
Fantastic.
wrong thing. Man, I'm getting older, man. I'm starting to technology's starting to get confusing to me. That's how you know you get older. When you're like, where is the email? Pretty soon I won't know how to open a DocuSign pretty soon at the
Oh
rate
no,
I'm
you
going.
got to know how to do the DocuSign. We got to get these sellers to sell. Awesome.
How's
Well,
everyone
thank
doing?
you. We're good, man. Hey, thank you for joining us. Super grateful to have you on the podcast today. We got a lot of people popping in. Ladies and gentlemen, take advantage of this opportunity and invite somebody you think would benefit from being in proximity with us. Send them that link to come and join us. I'm going to drop it in the side chat. We got a couple people to come and join. Uh, Ian, I'd love to open it up with you, man. For a lot of people that are hearing about real estate, wholesaling real estate for the first time, I think a lot of people really get overwhelmed by, feeling like they've got to be in person in front of these sellers or seeing these houses. I'm interested, to see how we can break this down for some of the newer people that are coming to join us because we do this business completely virtually. Share with everybody, where you're at in the world right now, joining us at this time.
I am in my basement in Portugal while the kids are asleep, since it's after 10 at night where I'm at. I only deal with clients and people who operate in the US right now for the most part. Maybe that'll change in time because I'm making some pretty cool connections here. But for the most part, it's like if you can do stuff to someone a town over online, if you can call someone, if you can pick up the phone, if you know how to send an email, theoretically you can do that from anywhere. So it's it is true that it's easier for people who are not skilled to rely on I met you in person, so therefore you know I'm real. But why would you want to do this as an unskilled person anyway? So the goal should all like to me, one of the greatest goals in thinking about doing well for yourself, getting into business in general, is flexibility, optionality, like control over your time, control over your days. And so if you can develop the skills to do it in person, you can also develop the skills to do it virtually. So I'm happy to answer any questions or provide any guidance on what it looks like to do things virtually.
Awesome. Well, let's dive into some stuff. I know today I actually just accepted an offer on a property that I've never seen. We had everything done completely virtually. This is out in Virginia. I'm right now in Chile, and the deal is going to be the biggest deal I've closed yet, over $70,000 on this assignment. So I'm excited for
Awesome.
this.
Great
All
work.
completely virtually,
Got a
man. All
bench.
completely virtually. Yes. Obrigado. Obrigado. I was thinking maybe we could run this one in Portuguese. We don't know. We don't know.
No, I'm not good enough yet. Also, I'm not good enough. Also, they like what you've learned Brazilian Portuguese, which is like far more musical sounding. Mine basically sounds the European Portuguese. The joke, and pardon me if anyone knows I don't speak Portuguese. I'm very close with some people here already. I'm Portuguese by descent, but it's like the joke is that Portuguese from Portugal sounds like a drunk Russian trying to speak Spanish. Like there's a lot of sh and the h, and so it's a little bit harder to understand. Like a lot of Brazilians come here and speak English to the Portuguese rather than speaking Portuguese because they have so much trouble understanding people
Wow.
in Portugal. Yeah.
That's
So
crazy.
not only am I not good enough, you probably won't even know what I'm saying. So we'll avoid that.
Well, let's jump into it, man. You've clearly been able to make an incredible life for yourself, where you have the freedom, like you were talking about, to actually do your business from Portugal with your clients that are based in the United States. Let's open it up. I'd love for you to share, a little bit about yourself, how you got into sales, and how you become, an influence in the sales space, teaching people how to close more sales.
Sure. Well, like for full transparency, I'm not buying houses anymore. That's something I stopped doing. We stopped doing that in 2024 to focus full time on the sales training, which has been great because it's not that even though we had already hired people to run aspects of the wholesale business, the issue is real estate, as anyone who's actually doing this like full time knows, is just filled with so many fires that take such precedence over everything else you're doing to put out to manage. And though we were like made a ton of money in real estate, also what we were doing in terms of the training sales teams and like everything we were doing in that realm is actually significantly more profitable because the expenses are so much lower on training. Not that we weren't making incredible revenue on the real estate, but like we had a space. We also tried to have people do stuff in person. Like we had a pretty cool setup for a while, but like now we're just focused on training people. So that makes it most of my time is just on Zoom these days, hence moving here. But yeah, like it adds challenges too to being able to do stuff personally. It's like it adds challenges. There's no doubt about it. So I'll back up a little bit. My history is my first commission only sales role was in life insurance. And if you ever like want to cut your teeth in sales, try selling union members in New York State on like what it's going to be like Teamsters, truck drivers, what it's going to be like for their family if they don't come home tomorrow. That is a hard way to make a living because I was just doing that full time, but I was able to make it work. From there, I got into solar and moved to Chicago for that opportunity. And that's when I did like really well for myself. I wasn't door knocking or anything like that. It was all appointment set for me. It was actually kind of a similar process to being an acquisitions person at a company where someone else qualified the lead and I just had to show up and sort of do my thing. And that's when I started to like do well and made sort of like sort of top 1% at the company. And that company was, I was a national company, like it traded on the, I don't say the company's name. It's probably fallen to the toilet since then, to be fair. I have no idea. But like it was like the biggest solar company at the time after having just bought another one that was the other biggest competitor. And so to be in sort of like the top 3 to 5 salespeople was pretty exciting and also getting paid like a ton of money. That it was at that role was the first time I took my then girlfriend, I believe, not no, then fiance out for ice cream. And before that, I was like managing bookstores in New York, like before I got into sales in general. And I did okay in life insurance, but also that life insurance thing is all built on residuals. So most like the first year is kind for everyone, it's also on New York expenses, New York City expenses. We lived in New York City are like okay. At that, you are not balling in New York City your first year as a life insurance person. You can maybe ball after year 4 or 5 because you have residuals and so it like compounds, right? It's not like the opposite of real estate, which is like, oh, I get these big checks up front. This is like, oh, this builds up monthly income that stacks up sort of your whole life was the idea and the appeal. But it wasn't until I was doing solar that I had like, oh, I took my girlfriend or fiance, whatever, out for ice cream. And I had the moment of like, oh, anything she can order here, I don't have to like secretly worry about her getting a small or something on the menu. It was just ice cream. I mean, it's like that's a nothing purchase, but I still remember the moment of that. And like sales skills gave me that. That's when I was doing solar. From there, I leveraged that into sort of like a cushy tech sales job. I was like, oh, that'll be fun. Let's transition to where they pay me a 6-figure base. That sounds nice. And the OTE on target earnings were double that. Like that sounds really cool for a like cushy job with benefits instead of commission. But I mean, I did that job for less than a year before I realized I'm not really meant to be managed. I mean, like I work with Steve Trang, if any of you know the Disruptors podcast, we're business partners. And the joke that Steve always likes to make people is like, if you think it's hard managing salespeople, like if you don't think it's hard managing salespeople, like try telling Ian to do anything. I'm not meant to be managed. I'm not meant to be a W2 employee. So I use that time to start a virtual wholesaling company. Paid Steve the cost of a car to mentor me years ago. And that transitioned into realizing I was doing well enough with my VAs. I was considering starting like a lead company, providing leads because I had so many excess leads for the ones I had hired, taken on full time. And then the market shifted and I was like, oh, I've got all these full-time employees now and I can't move these properties anymore when I only get paid on the back end. And Steve was like, "Yeah, but you're getting insane results. Like, let me buy you up and come work for me, and we'll figure something out." So that was the start of it a few years ago now of working full time with Steve, and we've transitioned like since then. Now we're putting it more in sort of an AI component, which I am in charge of at the company. But yeah, that's the journey to today. And I moved to Portugal 2 months ago, so I'm brand new to this. I'm this sole provider for my wife and two little kids. We're here at this 5 bedroom villa in Cascais, which is like the wealthy expat beach town west of Lisbon, which is lovely. Great this time of year. A little more crowded than I'm used to. Like it's cool to live in a place where, and I lived in New York before, so like you see this in Times Square, but no one in New York goes to Times Square. Like to go to where you're usually going and see people from like Taiwan and Hong Kong and Germany and Norway and Miami and Sao Paulo all being like, this is where we want to go for vacation. I'm like, that's just my back. Like that, my neighborhood is pretty awesome. So that's where I live right now. So I'm still figuring it out. Still learning the language, getting everything set up here, but I'm able to do, and I work weird hours. Like it's 10 o'clock at night. That's part of the challenge too. Also with two little kids who wake me up early in the morning. But yeah, it's a fun life. I'm enjoying the journey.
That's awesome, man. So let's jump into sales, man. Let's talk about some of these things. That maybe some of the secrets that you picked up over the years in your various sales positions, different sales careers. Um, Especially for people that are in real estate, right? Because we are all in real estate. That's why we're here. We're here to do real estate.
Mhm.
So for people that are here going direct to seller or negotiating in general, let's drop some sales game, for these people so that they can immediately increase their ability to become more influential or persuasive over the phone.
Okay. So when you're over, like the biggest principle to think about for any like sales context over the phone. So first off, we're talking to motivated homeowners is you have to, how do I want to say this? The biggest benefit that someone who's been doing real estate for like 10, 15 years has over you, aside from maybe the connections and the capital, which is not nothing to snark at. But the only like skill difference they really have over someone who's done it a year and a half to 2 years really is simply faster pattern recognition. Is going, oh, I've talked to this version of this person 50 times before. I know their circumstance. I know their emotional pain point. I know what I said last time that solved that just because they've got the reps in with that pattern recognition. So the good news is you can fast track that experience by doing a little extra work and not just doing the time and make it a point to try and analyze who you were talking to. Try and understand the personality types of the person you're talking to. What are their decision profiles? What are their pain points? Like, what are the real reasons for their pain? This comes all the time because I still coach quite a few people like acquiring houses off market, and they'll try and like get advice on a circumstance. I was doing a coaching call today on that, and one of the guys on the group coaching call, he had asked a question regarding a certain conversation he'd had with this lead and like what he did wrong. And he was asking for advice. And I asked the question I tend to always ask, which is like, what are their circumstances and why did he want to sell? Like, why to an investor? And his answer is one of the most revealing things that I'm sure many of you have ever asked you the same question might give me a similar answer. This is not meant to make you feel bad. It's meant to reframe how you think. I asked, why does this person want to sell to you? And he was looking at trying to buy it at like 65 cents on the dollar compared to Zillow. It was basically move-in ready. I mean, coat of paint, carpets, that level of repair. And his answer was, oh, they want to downsize. Now, how many of you could think conceptually their reason is downsizing? But that's not a reason to sell your home for 60 cents on the dollar. Now, that might be what they tell you when you ask the question, but you have to understand that people don't necessarily say exactly their circumstances out loud. So they go, well, I want to downsize, but what does that mean? What are the emotional reasons for downsizing? Where are they going to? Why are they going there? Why now? Why not a month in the past? Why not a month from now? Why not 2 years from now? Like, what would the benefit be for skipping like showings every weekend? Don't you want to get paid more? You need to understand like all the nuances of not just why do they want to sell. We're not realtors. I mean, some people are realtors, but when you're having a motivated, a conversation with someone who's motivated in any way, shape, or form, their reasonings have to be deeper than something they would tell a first year Keller Williams agent or on the couch. Like real estate, especially real estate investing, wholesaling, acquiring properties in general, is not really a real estate game. It's a sales and marketing game. It's sales and marketing, which means it's what drives people, what causes people to act. Yes, the thing we transact about and we have to talk to and run our numbers for is, of course, real estate. But what separates someone who's like kind of a hobbyist and sort of stumbling their way into a couple deals and some of the people I hang out with these masterminds. I'm about to fly back to the States for 3 weeks to train two teams and then go to two different masterminds. One of the guys at one of these masterminds is like, is Phil Green. They do over 100 deals per month. So when they're doing stuff like that, it's because they're understanding that they're solving problems, and those problems are representative of emotions. And those emotions have ways you can dig into them. They've got like ways you can frame it where it feels like they get relief if they move forward with you. So to me, the cool thing with being on the phone is it heightens the verbal sales skills because you lose the visual representation. So it's worth paying attention, not just to what you say, and more importantly, not just how you say it. 'Cause so many people don't even think about how they say it. It's not just what you say. It's not just how you say it. It's how it lands. It's how they hear it. It's how they digest it, which is why one of the most important concepts I tell people is that thing that seems like a tiny little difference between how someone else said something and how I said it is true, that in theory, it might be a note, like a tiny little hair of a difference in a transcript or something in terms of the difference. But how I slowed down, how I enunciated, how I sped up, how I went higher in pitch or lower, or took my time, or organized one word before another, or ended on a question instead of ending on a statement. All these nuances can create a massive difference in someone who is in a distressed circumstance where they want their problem solved and they want it solved yesterday. And so my favorite analogy of this comes from Brian Tracy. I think it's from the book, The Psychology of Selling, if I still remember this analogy, which is that in horse racing, the horse that gets first often pays out 8, sometimes 12 times as much as the horse that goes second. Did it win by 8 or 12 times the length? No, it won by a nose. It won by a nose. In sales, it's the same thing. This little difference between how you say something or how I say something is enough between you getting ghosted and wondering why they said they would sign. Why was the DocuSign just left on red, and me who was already moving the deal to someone else. And so the principle is like the tiny things matter. There's not a thing to be scared about. Like, oh, I can't call and I got to be perfect. Because before I return to you, like if there's one thing I can impart to a group like this, where it's got some people doing deals, some people who are enthusiasts and thinking about it and studying it, I am in rooms with people who are far more successful than me. Phil Green's a perfect example of that. I mean, like they did, I think it was 126 houses in like February last year. It's the shortest month of the year. The one thing I've seen for all these like multi-millionaire business owners that they have in common that dictates their success is we can show a hand. Is it because they're smarter? Is it because they're more charismatic? Is it because they simply have better sales skills, better leadership skills? It's nothing that it's nothing. It's none of that stuff. It's not being more charismatic. It's not having more money. It's not having better connections or being raised by better parents. All they have in common truly are sort of two main characteristics that are very tightly linked, which is they take action first and their like comfort level with risk is very high. Those are the two most important things in a capitalistic system between what rewards the business owners and what rewards everyone else. Like if you guys are investors, you're thinking about capital, what can I do? What I put my assets into? The power of human capital is people who are like, oh, I kind of know a little bit. Let me take action on this. Let me try it. Let me be imperfect. Let me do it again. Let me figure out how I can improve on it. Let me analyze. Nothing beats doing more work and taking action first. So, and if you could be comfortable with risk, most people are comfortable with risk that I'm still losing my hair for my little kids not letting me sleep, but like the risk thing is not that big a deal for me. I do have that trait. I can handle all types of risk, but some of these guys, it's exponential compared to me. So the thing in common is not, it would be very self-serving. I was like, they all have sales skills no, it's just that their appetite for discomfort and things that cause most people to go, I can't do that, is so high, and so they have such strong stomachs that they can like weather storms other people would fold under. And also like they do the action. They don't think about it. They don't go, I got to wait until I've mastered every personality type. I have to wait until I've talked to 50 different role play bots and gotten a perfect score with them until I know how to do it. It's none of that. It's like, let me learn a little bit and then let me do it. And to be fair, the only thing I have a slight gripe with, and I do love Brent Daniels, but it's a thing with the messaging. I love he does say this thing like take massive action. I get the reason he says it is because for most of his audience, any action feels like massive action, right? That's the most of it. To me, what I like to say is take consistent action. It's a minor nuance, but I think the difference matters because so many people who don't take any action, massive action is going to burn you out. If you do like 1,000 offers in a week and you're going from nothing, you're not going to do anything the following week. And it's true that you might get this modicum of success where you suddenly get the reinforcement loop of like, oh my gosh, that worked. But to me, I'd rather orient around building the habit immediately and say, just take consistent action. I'd rather you make it than making 1,000 offers and then burning out and like hiding in a hotel room somewhere in the dark under a cover. I'd rather you find a way to do 100 offers every single week forever. And then what you can do is incrementally increase it. Like, all right, I go up. If I'm doing 100, can I do 105? Yeah, of course. Especially once 100 becomes the baseline. So consistency in the action is the most important thing I have ever seen for success. Tangent there, but I'm prone to do that.
No, that was a lot. That was a lot of great information. I want to talk and get a little bit more specific, for these people that are
Sure.
taking, massive imperfect action. And we can discuss, the different types of archetypes that these sellers are, right? Those different personalities that we commonly
Sure.
deal with so that when people are on the phone, they, after listening to this podcast, can be like, oh, we talked about this. I know this type of person. I understand what situation they're in. And here's how I can deal with them to close this deal.
Okay. What do you want to know?
Let's go through some common types of sellers, distress sellers and motivations that people are going to run into, and then let's talk about how we can solve their problem so that they would want to work with us and justify emotionally selling at 65 50 cents on the dollar.
Sure. Okay. So the first thing to keep in mind is that it's not necessarily as simple as like it is true that how I position the offer matters for the personality type, definitely. And that's a thing I'm like developing an AI analysis of your leads to be able to do. But it's also deeper than that in that it's like tapping into the emotion can be I can change how I deliver the message and the offer is identical. Right. So like what one of the things that's interesting, that's why I say it's a people game and real estate is like the thing we're dealing with rather than it's the real estate game for this is because what gets an offer accepted from one person is not necessarily a change in number, not a change in timeline, not a change in terms. It's how you talk to them. It's how you position it. So we can go through some examples. So I can open it up to be efficient with the time for people in the chat. Like, what are some of the most common Paradise Ricky, interesting name, is saying start with the most difficult. Okay, well, what are people finding the most difficult? Because different people find different things difficult.
Let us know, ladies and gentlemen, in the side chat, a type of lead that you're currently dealing with that's been difficult, whether you're sending out text or SMS, PPC, or cold calling. Reading the chat here. Let us know what is a type of seller that you've run into. I can also share. Okay, this is a great one. The short and abrupt seller. Let's talk about that
Okay.
personality type. That person who's maybe fixed on their number. They know what they want. And thank you so much, Jason, for sharing that. If anybody else has some suggestions, please share them in the side chat. We're gonna go through them. So that person that knows what they want. If it isn't gonna work, it's my way or the highway. How do you deal with that personality?
You have to embrace non-neediness. So I'm not trying to like it's not all this like power move of let me position and I got to make sure I take power, but I also got to make sure I don't make the mistake of seeming needy, seeming like I have commission breath, like I care about the deal enough where I'm willing to to change how I think it should be done. I always I'm giving people options and chances to be able to reveal their circumstances and see if it makes sense. So I'm always giving them what I call a crossroads moment when I start getting resistance or pushback. Well, I know this number. If you can't do that number, we're wasting our time or something like that. Now, first, what I'll do is stress test that number. So let's just say if it was $100,000, I say, just to be clear, and I'm not exactly sure what my number is yet. That's why we're having this conversation today, so I can learn enough about the property, your timeline, if there's any extraneous circumstances or anything related to you to determine my number. Because if you're just looking for whatever number someone says out loud over the phone, those people often drop it later when they actually look at it, and that's not how we like to do business. We want to make sure if you hear a number over the phone from us, it's something we can stick to. So for us to do that, we have to ask you some questions and go through the process so that you can trust our number. Otherwise, we're just guessing. And we don't. If you want to go with someone who does that process, some kid in his basement, that's a different thing than how we do stuff. So you're welcome to do that. Do you want to continue this conversation, or do you want to talk to someone else? Just giving you a crossroads moment. I explain the reasoning and end with the question. A lot of people make the mistake of saying the thing and then explaining the reasoning, which is not as effective. You always end with the harsh point, the question that turns it to them, because people always answer, not always, they tend to answer what you said last. And so if you go well, that's not how we do business because, and you explain everything instead of ending with the question, this little nuance, they'll start arguing with your explanation. What happens when I do that is the explanation is just assume this is how it is. There's no pushback on it. Now, I might get pushback. There's a tone aspect of how I deal with that. This is where we come with saying being assertive and not aggressive. Aggressive is pushing for a yes. Assertive is I stick to my process. That involves getting a yes or a no and see if it makes sense for you. If you don't want to do that, we're not a fit for you. You can, best luck if you want to talk to someone else, but we're here now. Should we continue the conversation? You want to talk to someone else? I always end with the chance where they get to choose. Well, I'm already on the phone with you now. By the very nature of saying it this way, I sound different from everyone else. So I sound like I know what I'm doing, and by extension have money and can deliver. The experience of this matters to them, even though I'm telling them no. In fact, specifically because I'm saying, no, I don't play that game. Not in those language, in I just got to be assertive to my process. This is how my process works. If that doesn't work for you, if you're happy fielding offers from guys who say numbers and then never call you back or send you a thing and lower the price, Godspeed. We're not the fit. It's not neediness. It's not, I don't care, I don't want to help you. It's just, I don't need this, right? So the mindset is always, at all times, act like you have $1 million liquid in the bank. If you were operating that way, you would protect your time. You would know how to buy homes. You would have enough lead flow to be have no issue whatsoever. Act like you are $1 million liquid in this exact moment, right? And if you have that, then you can say, I would love to help you. I'd love to buy your house, but I don't need to. And the ability to do that is, to me, the definition with these types of homeowners, what creates the sensation of being charismatic and can deliver. If I'm on the phone with someone, and someone can send all the comps in the world, all the here's the justification for my numbers, here's other people I've helped, but they're well, no, I can change it, but I can't pay you less. Compared to me, who could send nothing but has that conversation, I will win because the experience is what causes people to feel trust and feel distrust. And people get the kind of the ick from someone who's seeming like I'm trying to get the deal done versus especially if you're talking about buying someone's house cash or partnering with people who've got enough cash to buy big lots of land. They don't expect you to be well, can I please find some way to help you? The example I like to give is with especially with
that's funny,
women
that's
on the
funny.
call,
Yeah.
right? With women on the call, if you imagine you're on a first date with a guy, if he starts to go, oh, I'll be the best boyfriend. I'll pay for all the dinners. I'll be so nice to you. I'll send you flowers every day. Oh, you're gonna love being my girlfriend. I'll be so nice to you. It's I can't imagine one who's oh, I have to go to the bathroom and just don't come back, right? It's the definition of this repulses me, which is how most people are talking to motivated homeowners who give them demands, as opposed to, hey, I'd love to have this conversation. I'll pay for dinner. I'll pay for drinks, whatever. I want to learn more about you. If at the end of this we're a fit, we'll do something more fun next time. If not, let's just have as much fun now. If this is not a fit, no harm, no foul. Tell me about you. That energy is being translated to a sales conversation. One is compelling. Again, it's in the dating field, you can push into the like being ruder than you want with a homeowner to create the non-needed attraction. We want to make sure we're not skirting the line of being rude or disrespectful, or I'm assertive at the expense of seeming like I care about you. We don't want to play any of those games. But the principle at play here is that charisma comes from actually being non-needy. And I'm really specific on those words. It's not don't care, I'm an asshole, I make all this money, who cares about you? It's just non-needy. Don't need it. Want it, don't need it. That energy is one of the most powerful things you can do in all social settings, do with family members, business relationships, networking events. Like I embrace that sort of vibe going to a lot of these masterminds I'm going to long before I probably should have been. And then I had people being like, "Oh my gosh, I saw your podcast," like trying to like approach me and talk to me and spend time with me. I was just like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I got to take a call." It was an intentional framing. It's not that like I want to talk to you. Let's talk. Can we talk soon? I got to go take another call. This is a performative thing to demonstrate non-neediness. And I'd leave and be like, "Oh my God, people recognize me. What a cool feeling." But the reality is like that energy is inherently compelling. It is inherently compelling. So you have to stick to that level of energy when you're talking with people who've got, I've got these strict commands. Little tangent. So the way I would first test while embracing that energy is test the number with like $1 off, right? So it might be like, so just to be clear, and I'm not sure what my number is yet. I have to ask questions to figure it out. If I come in and for whatever reason, my top number is $999,999, just because that's the most I can do. You're so dead set on 100,000, you would tell me to go pound sand. I'm stress testing it because in any real estate transaction, $1 means nothing. We all know that inherently. So what does that do? Like, first off, it's first framing the idea of I might lower, like, are you comfortable with the price being lowered? It's that starting that framing, but more importantly, it's how logical or emotional are you towards this price, right? So they might say, no, I can't because 100's already too low. And now I actually know we're going to have a price issue circumstance because they've got so much debt or something, whoever knows what it is. Or it might be, well, so is that what you're offering me? I'm like, I don't know yet, but I wouldn't want to run the numbers if just in case we're $1 off, it's a complete waste of time because that seems like we'd be wasting time, both our times, and I don't want to waste your time either. So if just for whatever reason, if the math comes back and we're $1 off, how would you respond to that? And now I've gauged the reaction like, well, $1 off, but don't lowball me. Okay. All that means to me is that one of two things. Either they're a dominant personality and they're like, I have to take control, or they've been burned enough in the past that they're trying to protect themselves through a process. Because like a lot of these people are on lists. They're like that has been called a lot, have been made promises a lot, have been to even be in circumstances where you're willing to sell for 60 cents on the dollar means think about the implications of what you've been through that. Think about the identity loss and your job letting you go or the money not working out, like all the things that could have gone wrong, the judgment against you, the lien on your home, all of these things that have to happen to even be in this circumstance. And then how would someone react to someone trying to make them an offer on the only asset that they probably really own, like not free and clear, but own with any sort of aspect of equity. And it's going to be for less. Of course, they're going to react with resistance. It's also worth keeping in mind, many of you, and this is the ultimate sort of challenge for sales skills with real estate, but it's worth pointing out. Many of you might be encountering someone who is seeming like they're like a dominant personality, like a high D on the DISC profile, DISC, where they're like, no, I do it this way, it's this number, and it's this, and I don't want my time wasted. But when people, especially people in stressful situations, when the cortisol is running through their body and they're stressed out and they're feeling exposed, people often try and protect themselves by putting on the opposite persona of their actual persona, because their actual persona has got them in this circumstance. So one of the challenging things in real estate is that if you hear someone and they're like, well, don't waste my time, you might immediately assume with the pattern recognition of like, oh, I got a high D personality, I just know that now and let me adapt everything to it. But you have to take the initial reactions with a grain of salt, because they might actually be an analytical personality, or they might be a social steady one, and they usually take their time with decisions. In fact, they're inability to make quick decisions might be the reason they're getting a notice in the mail from the bank. But to protect themselves from that stress, they will put on and this is happening in the subconscious. They're not consciously thinking, I will act the opposite of how I am. Their way to protect themselves, everyone's normal way to protect themselves is usually sort of an opposite type of vibe from how they usually are.
So real
Occasionally
quick,
you'll
Ian,
get a
I
high
want to I
dis.
want to break you right there. So
Sure.
for the people that are here right now that have heard you say you need to act like you have a million liquid in the bank, right? You need to take that posture, you need to embody that energy. That are struggling to do that because they're negative in their account or they've got no money, no access to resources, whatever. What are you going to
Mhm.
tell those people so that they can actually adopt that charisma on the phone?
To like what I tell them to be able to. I'm misunderstood. Who am I
So
telling? The homeowners or
for
the?
the people that are not in a position where they have a million liquid, right?
I
They
don't have a million
they
liquid, dude. I don't have a million liquid in the bank right now. You kidding me? Like I just bought it. I just got this house here. There's no way I got a million liquid. The point. That's why I was trying to say I did that long before I was worthy of it. I so many people think it's hard to do that until I can. I'm going to say probably the most profound line that I think you guys will ever hear. This is not my line, but it's one of the best ones I've ever heard. It's like a lot of people focus on manifesting. How can I manifest? How can I act as if? The line is God doesn't speak English, or the universe doesn't speak English, however you operate stuff. It doesn't speak any language, whatever language it is that you speak. So by saying, like shouting affirmations in the mirror, or writing down in a journal, or telling friends or family, you're going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm this guy now, I'm going to make this happen. Whatever, whether you believe in manifesting with the vibrations of the universe, or you believe that God is going to bestow blessings upon you, they don't speak the language you speak. It only recognizes the actions that you do. And so sometimes speaking is an action, but only if done repeatedly. So the habits you develop have to show the universe that you are the type of person who has a million liquid in the bank. And I've adopted that long before I was successful, long, long before I was. And the approach is very much this idea of like, okay, if I was already the person who could act this way, how would I act in this moment? And so many people think that means acting like a dick. I don't know successful people who are like, and there are some who are dicks, of course, but most of the ones I hang out with don't operate that way at all. They just seem like dicks to you because you're usually asking something from them and can't provide them value. When you actually can show up with value at these groups, these people are the biggest go-givers I have ever met. They're like, who can I introduce you to? What do you want to go play? You want to go play paddle somewhere? You want to go play golf? Like, what are you doing? You want to go for a drive? Like, let's hang out. How can I help you? Can I introduce you to my lender? That is the vibe of people who are successful. They genuinely care about people if they no longer have to fear that they're trying to get something from them. So if you want non-neediness and the $1 million liquid energy in of like having that, you have to act as if. It is not fake it until you make it. Because by the very nature of saying fake it until you make it, it implies that it's not real. To me, this is acting as my identity that will also allow the actions to come with it. Steve started introducing me as his eccentric billionaire friend. I'm not a billionaire by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm like, I like that. Part of it is also to like mask some of my behavior. Sometimes when people criticize, I can seem a little spicy. Like if I tell people you're my eccentric billionaire friend, then no one's going to question you, be it like you insulting them. So I do like that, but also I don't hate it because the reality is like I kind of operate that way. Like a lot of my life looks like I'm an eccentric billionaire. I was at this cigar lounge the other night, and it was like this like Davidoff cigar tasting with like caviar and wine and pork and cheese, and like it was insane. And the group was incredible. And they definitely lost money at this event because the cigar alone was €50 and only €75 to do the event down at the marina. But I was next to a guy who's like, "Oh, I do like crypto and privacy consulting for the top 1%." And his stories were like, he says top 1%. He doesn't spend enough time around marketers because most people say top 1%. He meant top like 0.001%. He's dealing with like generational wealth for people. Like his partner is like, they're putting hard drives with Bitcoin in a bunker in Montana. Like it's that level of wealth. And like the vibe of that level of wealth, I think the guy was like trying to get me to sign up. I was like, I kept on telling him, like, I'm not your clientele. I will be direct with you. I don't have that. I'm in the earning phase still. Like I'm trying to make more. I'm trying to make as much as possible. I'm not trying to only preserve wealth with tax. So I am looking at a holding company in Malta to have pay a trust to be able to do that, since the EU is no joke with taxes. But the principle is like truly like, what is the energy of who I want to be? How would that person act in this moment? You don't have to act like you have a million. Acting like $1 million is not acting like a jerk. You don't need things. It's you don't need this business right now. You would love it. Most millionaires I know want more millions. It's not like that the desire goes away, but it's like I just don't need it. And so I will be like, again, the thing is like, what you think dictates how you behave. There's so many studies on that. Like if you think that the world is against you, you will act like the world is against you. If you think the world is rigged in your favor, I've adopted this. I like to think like, man, I'm so lucky. God, I'm lucky. Guess what my life feels like? Pretty lucky to most people. Wow, well, really lucky life this guy has. I get to have this like 5 bedroom villa in Portugal and provide for my family, and like we've I've got 2 nannies for the kids and then the school for this. And like, what do you want to do? I ate caviar off my hand that the guy told me it needs to sit on your hand for 5 minutes to absorb your flavors. I was like, okay, like yeah, I'm living a really lucky life because when I was living in a 1 bedroom apartment in Queens, I tried to tell myself I'm a lucky person. The world falls in my lap. I show up at their opportunities and I act as such. How will that person act in this moment? And so don't think like, yeah, it's hard to not act that way when I don't. And the reality is the only way to actually get that is to act that way regardless. Not fake it till you make it, because that implies it's not real. Be the person who would do that. Your thoughts dictate your actions. Actions done repeatedly, habits are what dictate your results. So if you think the right way, your actions will align with it. And if you do it repeatedly, that is the only whether you believe in manifesting or not. If you don't, then taking action is the only way to get any results anyway. So do the behaviors, have the habits of someone who is successful, and the success will come. So think you're lucky, think the world is rigged in your favor, think I meet the coolest people, I'm in the best community, I got access to all this money and all these people with ideas. I've got a question. I will ask the question better than anyone else, so everyone races to answer it for me. This is how I operate at all times. This is the energy I bring to the networking events I go to, whether I'm smoking a cigar at the Kashkash Marina or I'm speaking on stage at Collective Genius Premiere. It doesn't matter. This is the energy I have at all times, and my life matches it.
That's why I say it all the time. I affirm it all the time. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the #1 most valuable real estate community in existence. I'm telling you, there is no there is no, I don't even know the word I'm looking for. What is the word where things they think that things happen? Coincidence. There is no coincidence. There is intention. There is energy. There is frequency. What you do frequently becomes your frequency. That is the reality, right? We are reality shaped by our thoughts, what we think, what we do on a regular basis, who we surround ourselves with. That's why it's so important to be active in here. Get around people that are closing big deals, and you're going to become one of them, right? Every podcast that you listen to, every time you absorb what these people are putting out, you are molding the type of person you want to be. You are embodying that character when you get on this podcast and you tell yourself that I am a successful real estate investor and I'm investing my time to listen to what they are sharing with me so that I can embody that characteristic and build these habits to be that person that I want to be.
Facts. Look at me, the facts thing up here on the screen.
How many people? We got 66 people in the audience right now, ladies and gentlemen. I want to know how many of us are paying attention. I love to see everybody in the chat right now. We're getting a bunch of people. Very excited. Very excited. Several people are typing. We got to drop some fire for Mr. Ian Ross coming on to share this. This is what I've been on lately, Ian. I've been listening actually to a lot of different podcasts about frequency, law of attraction, even misconceptions about law of attraction, and having to force my way to manifest things. It's really not about forcing your way to do anything. It's more about aligning yourself to receive right? And to receive things and to align yourself to be able to receive things, you must embody those characteristics, which is exactly what you're talking about. So you're
Yep,
preaching to the choir right now. We got a lot of
for
fire in the
sure.
chat, a lot of support from the community. This is the number one most valuable real estate community in existence, ladies and gentlemen. I'm telling you, if you haven't invited somebody, you've got to invite somebody to come be in proximity with us. Ian is speechless. He's watching the chat go off right now. He's like, "Wow, I've never seen this much engagement so quick."
So I got sidetracked for one of the things, but like we could talk. I can get more specific and get more granular with advice. I can answer questions. I can make use of this however you want me to.
Absolutely. I'd love to open it up, especially, if there's anybody that wants to come on and ask specific sales questions, share, a story or a situation that you're going through right now to get some feedback from Ian.
So, something I'd love to do is, yeah, man, the guy just read my mind. I'd love to role play some scenarios with someone if they'd like that. Yeah, if anyone wants to, just come on. I'm happy to role play how I would deal with. It can be a scenario you're actively going through. It could be a scenario, one you're like, oh, I did well before, but how did I do? I'm happy to go through that.
Yeah, let's get some people to come on. Raise your hand, ladies and gentlemen. Take advantage of this opportunity. We got Mr. Ricky. Ricky, how you doing
Let's
today,
do it.
Ricky?
Pretty Rick, man. Pretty Ricky's feeling pretty. How y'all feeling?
Feeling good, feeling blessed.
Awesome. I'm gonna role play like the freaking difficult seller. I'm just gonna throw some numbers in here. So 1 second. So let's say MAO is 100.
So none of this, I'll be honest with you, none of this stuff I'm going to pay any attention to because it's all going to be about what you say. You just say the first sentence and I'll go from there. Like the reality, because again, even the stuff I look at, I don't, the MAO stuff, the stuff about the property, none of that's interesting to me. All everything I'm basing on is what you're going to say to me. And so I just, everyone on the call, like listen to how I deal with it. Listen to how I'm active listening. I'm recapping what he said, how I ask questions. Listen for that. So where are we calling? We starting the conversation? Where do you just tell me like where we're coming from? Where are the conversation? I can just go. I don't need any specifics with numbers.
All right. So this is we already went through the whole process. I've been chatting with the lead manager, and I've told the lead manager I'm ready to sell, but I'm pretty firm on wanting 100. You need to be at 80. I know you said it's not relevant, but just wanted to throw that out there anyway.
Okay, so we're off. Are we starting the call for an acquisitions call?
Yeah.
Okay. Like we'll just start the call. So, Ricky, before I even get started here, these calls they usually take about. We'll speed this up for the role play. We'll usually take about sort of like 10, 15 minutes, depending on how many questions you have. It can take a little bit longer if you've got additional questions. Is that still an okay amount of time for you?
You know what? I do have a doctor's appointment in about 30, but I think we could do that.
Okay. So do you have to leave to be at the doctor's appointment in 30? Like you'd have to be like leaving in 15 minutes?
It's more so just, wanting to get there on time, but I think we could squeeze it in.
Okay. When is your heart out? I want to make sure that I can be
My
respectful of
hard
that and deal with it.
out would be, so right now it's 2 o'clock. My hard out would be 2:45 to 2:50.
Okay. So a little context, because I want to keep going with this. I'll pull it back for the role play for 1 second. If he had said anything under 45 minutes, I would have rescheduled the call. Just because I know statistically, most of the time I'm getting things signed around the 45 to 55 minute mark. So like
Gotcha.
I'll be usually that's just like a side thing for my level. I would have rescheduled the call if they'd done like I got to go in 20 minutes. They're like, man, it's not enough time. I would love to keep going, but I just know I won't be able to get the contract done, and I would go too far into pain. So I'll return the call. Okay, so I'll make sure we're respectful of the sort of 45, 50 minute cutoff. Obviously, we wanted to have the conversation about buying a home, and for us to determine if this is a home we're going to be able to buy, I'm going to have to ask you some questions just to better understand your circumstances. Is that going to be okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. And I know you already talked to, to John a little bit before about the property. Some of these questions might even seem redundant for what you answered him. I usually find it better to hear directly from the homeowner instead of like trying to rely on whisper down the lane to make sure nothing is lost in translation. At the same
Okay.
time, some of these questions, they might even come across as personal. It's just so I can better understand your circumstances, your timeline, everything around that, so I can be as accurate in my offer as possible. Is that going to be okay?
Yep.
Okay. At the same time, if this, for any reason, what I cover here, if you don't like the price, you don't like me, the circumstances, anything, are you comfortable telling me no?
I'll definitely say no if I can't get what I want.
Okay, great. At the same time, if for any reason I think this is a house that's not going to make sense for us to buy, is it okay if I tell you that?
Yeah, please do. I mean, time is money.
Definitely. At the same time, like, the reality is, a lot of people I talk to, 'cause you seem like pretty genuine and kind. They want to not hurt my feelings, and so sometimes instead of telling me no, they will tell me they need to think about it. I promise you will not hurt my feelings if for whatever reason we're not aligned. Can you promise me you won't tell me I need to think it over instead of a no?
I will be as blunt as a serrated knife.
Okay, as blunt as a serrated knife. Well, I want to make sure we're on the same page. It's usually considered a sharp object. So what does that mean?
A little oxymoron.
Okay. So, but you'll be upfront and honest with me.
Definitely.
I appreciate that. At the same time, if because of that, if I hear anything other than a yes or no, I'm just going to go ahead and take that as a no. Is that fair enough?
Sounds all right with me.
Okay. So now that we're caught up to speed, tell me about what's going on with the property again. Like, what really made you want to have this conversation today?
Well, I just have the property sitting there and um not really doing much with it. So figured, if I could get the right price for it, I'd be happy to take that.
Okay. Right price means different things to different people. I'm guessing you had the number in mind for what you were thinking for that.
Oh yeah.
And that was
Well, I mean, what price were you thinking to give?
I don't know yet. I still have to learn a bunch more about you, your circumstances, and the property before I could do that. But I didn't want to waste your time. If you said multiple times you got a number set in stone. That like, I got to see if I can do that. So if we're not there, I wouldn't want to waste your time. What did you have in mind?
Yeah. What's the most you'd pay?
I have no idea yet. I'm not even sure this is a house I'm going to buy. To be direct with you, pretty Ricky. So like, I don't want to waste your time if that's the game we're going to play.
No, I'm not playing games, but it's negotiation 101. Whoever gives a price first loses.
Interesting. Was that the experience when you bought the house last time? No one, there was no number on it. You just knocked on the door and said, "Can I pay this much?"
Oh no.
Okay. You can't extend to me the same courtesy.
Fair enough. I'd like to be in the range of around 120 to 140.
Okay.
I'm just
Is
gonna
there a
pull back the role
particular
play a little bit. I'm just gonna role
Sure.
play back a little bit. I'll pull back. So let's just say ARV is like 110. I went over because that's something that I
Doesn't matter to me
encountered.
at all. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
Reality is it doesn't matter to me at all for what I'm
Okay,
going to do
I got
here.
you.
It's all good.
All right,
It's
let's
really like I'm not going to go all the way for the 45 minutes to make an offer anyway. I'm just showing how I would move you through
okay.
it. So the number really doesn't matter to me.
All right, let's jump back.
Okay. Uh, just to be clear, is there a particular reason you were looking for the convenience of a cash offer instead of going with the traditional real estate agent route?
Well, I'm considering listing. It's a possibility, but just wanted to see what the cash offers were coming in at.
Got it. A lot of the other people we work with, they said they chose us instead of the listing process for one of three reasons. Either they like didn't know any agents they liked or respected and thought would do an amazing job, and they didn't want to pay commissions and closing costs and maybe have it set on the market for 4 to 6 months depending, so they wanted to skip that whole process. Or some work needed to be done to the property in some way and they didn't have the time, money, or just energy to get HGTV ready and then have it sit on the market and pay commissions. Or three, to be some circumstance totally unrelated to the property where just getting cash quickly would be a benefit to them. And it had nothing to do with the property at all. I don't know if any of those sound relevant to you.
Well, cash today would be better than cash in 3 months, but it's more so just exploring my options.
Okay. Would it surprise you to learn that to get cash today, rather than doing the whole process of not cash with a real estate agent, there's also often an adjustment on price compared to going with the agent?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Okay. So even though it's not simply just minus cost, closing cost, and commission, there's still an adjustment because we have to take on a greater risk. That still makes sense for you.
Yeah, I mean, you're running a business. You got to make money, right?
Well, I mean, that's usually how we operate, but I don't want to continue the conversation if you're not on board with the fact that it's not going to be what you would get with a real estate agent. If you want to do the shit, like do the listing and showings, maybe you got an agent you think is amazing who's going to crush it, and you're good, and you're like, no, great, I'm good, I'm set.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Okay. So, because what I had seen, I'm not saying this is our number, but other like investors paying cash in the area, they're paying between like, you know, 30 and $60,000 cash. Now, I'm not saying that's our offer, but if someone were to come and just say, "Hey, here's this cash, you got it right, you're gonna pick this up in under a month," how would you respond to that?
To be honest with you, I think that's definitely not going to work, and I'd try not to use colorful language with them.
I get that. I get that. They're always trying to lowball people. So realistically, though, I'm sure you're aware that the numbers you said even an agent would struggle to make that work. So, in your mind, where are we at? Is there any leeway at all on that? Because I don't want to waste our time.
Yeah, I mean, just have y'all ran your numbers on where you need to be at?
We're still going through that right now. That's the nature of us having this conversation. The reason we're talking
Okay.
right now is so I can run my numbers. That's why I'm asking you this question.
Okay. I mean, I'll be reasonable, but I'd ask for you guys to be reasonable with me as well.
What does that mean?
Well, I mean, you're gonna try to get it as low as you can get it for, and I'm gonna try to get it as high as I can get it for. So if we could find some happy medium, it'll be a yay
Okay.
or an A.
So, in your mind, what would a happy medium look like? I'm not sure what that would mean.
Well, that'll really just depend on where you guys come in at.
In your
That's why I wanted to
mind,
know if you guys ran your numbers.
because happy is the key word for me, not just medium. In your mind, what was it like? Obviously, happy's 300,000. Hold out for a million. Realistically, though, what's an amount where if you're just picking up a check in 30 days, you're like, this is worth the conversation.
Hmm. I'd have to think about it.
Okay. If you if we were to snap our fingers and pretend you thought about it all night and you woke up and you had the epiphany, what would that epiphany be? Like how much money
I mean,
would you be like, all right, that
I,
makes
I
sense.
wouldn't.
I can do that
I
in 30
really
days.
would have to think about it.
What would you be processing?
Well, I would be processing. Well, I'd have to take a look at the numbers on the market, see what other properties are selling for, and then from there I would be able to see if it makes sense for me.
I'm confused. Before we talked about an adjustment on price for the convenience of cash, and now you're talking about comparing to numbers of other real estate
Yeah, so
agents.
that would be the baseline that I'd refer to.
The baseline for
So the baseline would be this is what I know I'd get it for with the realtor, and then from there, I could probably give you guys 6% off of that because that's what I'd give to an agent anyways.
okay, so when I said at the start that there would be an adjustment for the convenience line, that's even lower than simply the commission and closing costs. What
What
did
were
that
you
mean for
thinking
you?
as far as the adjustment?
It's significantly lower. I wouldn't want to make an offer. We're far off, but right now I'm not hearing any reason to even give a number, to be frank with you.
I understand.
I should ask this. Like, why are you selling this property in the first place?
Because it's just sitting there. Um, it's just sitting there. It's been vacant for about a year now. I just had toe surgery. I had
Oh,
6 toes. I have 5, and
okay.
I just would like to just get done with this.
That surgery, does that have anything to do with wanting the price a little bit sooner?
Oh no, it's more so just this new chapter where I'm just getting rid of a lot of, uh, I guess, things that need to be tended to. I'm taking care of a lot of affairs, getting everything in order.
Got it. Like what?
I really don't want to share that. It's a bit personal.
Remember at the start, I said some of these questions might seem personal, and you said that was okay.
Yep, that's right.
It doesn't. You don't feel like that's still the case?
I mean, yeah, I mean, there's some there. We have to draw the line somewhere. As far as the house itself,
We haven't even gotten to the house. Sorry, I must
yeah.
have done something to offend you. If at the start you said you're okay answering personal questions, you told me you had toe surgery, but then getting the house in order, now you're not comfortable sharing. I must have done something wrong.
Oh no. So I just want to get my affairs in order. The house is just one of those affairs to get in order. Some of it's personal. You seem like a swell guy, but just really not comfortable sharing all of that. But I'll share as much that I feel is instrumental to getting this done as I
If you're
can.
not in any rush whatsoever, because it doesn't sound like you're in any rush, you don't like definitely go meet with an agent. You'll make way more money for this. Yeah, just go do that. Unless I'm missing
So if you
something.
were to make an offer, where would you guys be at?
Why would it make an offer? We don't make offers on homes. We try and buy homes. Like we don't make offers. Our whole thing is to have a conversation with people who are interested in actually selling their home. And I'm not entirely sure you're ready because you're not even telling me the reason why. I don't understand it.
Is the reason of relevance to the offer, as far as like my
Every,
personal
ev-
dealings?
Everything is relevant because how quickly you need stuff, if you need things in the first place. Like we're not the Rockefellers. We can't buy every home. That's just a reality. I wish we could. I wish we could just buy every home we wanted to. We have to be strategic with where we put our money. And so if we're just going to be so tight on the margins that we're squeezing out minus just the agent commissions and we're having to pay cash without the whole buying as is process, without any of the inspections, like that sounds like it's a waste of time. So maybe you're set unless you can think of something.
Yeah. I mean, I'll put it like this: if I'll put it like this, as far as the personal dealings, and this will give you a good idea of what's going on. So, you trust a woman, you've been with her for a long time, you build a life with her, and then you find out the whole time she's been with your best friend. That's all I'll say about that.
Man, I totally understand why you're hesitant to talk about that. That is tough. That like I feel that in my chest, what you just said. Before we continue, like I want to make sure if we can make an offer, it makes sense for you. Like if we can even really do this, but if we agree on everything today, like let's just say I could pay a price that makes sense for you. What would you want to have happen next?
I just want to be done with it, to be honest with you.
Okay. Be done with it means different things to different people. What does it mean for you?
Just get it out of my plate. Um, Obviously, I
Oh,
want to get as much as I can for it, but I also just want to get out of here.
yeah. I'm going to take a guess and you can tell me to pound sand if I'm wrong about this. I'm going to guess there's some memories associated with this house in a way that kind of makes it almost painful to know that you're hanging on to it. And that's part of the reason we're having this conversation today instead of you talking to a real estate agent. Am I totally off base for making that guess?
I'd say that's pretty spot on.
Okay. If we were able to come to some type of agreement here where the number makes sense, we're paying the most that we can, we're squeezing it out there, you're able to just pick up a check in 30 days from today and move on with your life. Does that sound like something that would be helpful for you?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Before we get into the numbers here, this is going to be kind of an uncomfortable question because it feels like you've had kind of like I'll be frank, taken advantage of, which is not your fault, man, not your fault at all. But do you want our help? Like, do you want to continue this conversation to see if we can figure out the numbers so you're just free of this property?
Definitely want to get it done.
We'll stop the role play here because I wanted to like talk about this here. But great role play because I wanted to talk about like my brain's going off trying to talk about how I was doing stuff. Who know? I'll tell you, ask you, Ricky. So what did you notice on that? Because this is like the most important moment of this
You
whole conversation before I even get any more numbers. Is like talking about this.
So I try to be as broad with my language as possible, and you did not go for it. You didn't accept that. You defined everything, similar to how like attorneys do, where they're like, okay, define this, define that. What does this mean? What does that mean? And I think that's the key takeaway I got from this is you not only did you do that, but you really honed in on holding them accountable to what they said. For example, didn't want to share this or that, but you went back to, hey, in the beginning of the call, you did tell me like you'd share as much with me as you needed, regardless if it be personal or not. So that really stood out to me. But I think the key takeaway here that I'm going to implement more is defining, when they give open-ended language, I'm going to push for having them define exactly what they mean, because I think that's something I can implement and get a lot more efficient results. And I saw you pull away a lot as well.
Yeah,
They don't always run back, but I wanted to push back for the sake of the role play, because the entire premise was just to kind of like see how you handle the difficult sellers, because I did see in the comments that people were like, oh, I'd get hung up on, but the point is more so just to display how you handle these guys. And I'll say
uh,
too, if they're desperate, they're definitely not going to hang up.
yeah. Two things. So one is I promise my tonality is different. I don't get hung up on the way you guys get hung up on. Like that just makes a difference. Secondly, I'm theoretically okay with disqualifying the lead in this circumstance. If someone wants 6% off, saying over Zillow price, that's not a lead for buying at a discount. That's a lead for a realtor. It's not a lead for us. And so the biggest risk is spending the full process bending over backwards for someone who wants to sell but doesn't need to sell. That difference is where time is wasted. And as business owners or salespeople or acquisition people in real estate, as human beings who make money with our time, it is our most precious asset. Wasted time is wasted money. And so I would rather you go, yeah, it's not going to be a fit, and end the call there. If that ended that way, that would have been a win to me, because I actually think this until you reveal the circumstance, this guy wasn't a lead for me until he reveals it. So also I do a very key thing, which you probably didn't even notice, but it also made it easier for you to do because it's also easier for people who are distressed. This is actually that was a realistic, reasonable way someone would have come back, because as I pull away, I always left like, I call it like the carrot and the stick. I give the stick of like, hey, maybe we're not a fit. And then I always leave in the disqualification process, unless I'm missing something. It's the carrot for people who are actually motivated to not go, yes, you're missing all this paint, but they will go, well, give me something. To me, that moment is profound, because it's the difference between an actual disqualification and someone who shows that they don't want the call to end, which is a representation that they have pain. But they might not be comfortable revealing it. But now I know it's not worth just ending the call right there, because being efficient with my time is also incredibly important. If I need to put this person in a follow-up sequence because they're just not ready now, I am happy to do that, because I know if I give my number now and they're expecting 6% off 120, that I'm a commodity and I'll get shopped around and I'll end up going to someone else. I'd rather not give my number. I'd rather just hold my number back and going, you got to figure some stuff out first. Call me when you're ready. Like I would just do that, because I have a better chance of closing the deal than giving my number and getting shopped for someone who didn't show emotion. My goal, the reason this moment was so powerful, is I got you emotional. Now, again, it's you're acting, you're being the prospect, but I got this prospect emotional. I found the pain point.
Yeah.
And part of this, I assumed out loud, because I'm always comfortable. When you assume out loud the way I did, I never assuming in silence is what makes you an ASS out of you and me. Assuming out loud is a super hack, because I either read your mind or I get clarity. Because people have all the time in the world to not answer questions, but they cannot let an incorrect statement stand. They will want to correct you. So when it's an important thing, like around their real motivation, I will make a statement, and either I'm confirmed, in which case, oh my God, this guy understands me, or they tell me what's really going on. It's like, no, it's not that. It's actually she wants the money, and I need to pay that. They will not. I can't stand to leave it as is as a statement if it's untrue. And that's where you get the real motivation. So if something's really important, I don't even ask it as a question. I make a statement and let myself get corrected.
I really like the way you reframe the way we look at our time as well, and just getting it out of the way, throwing that lead out.
Yeah, to me, it's like, again, it doesn't mean I'm not going to follow up with the lead. Like at some point, they'll go into some type of cadence because I've probably spent money on them. They've gone through it. But I know this deal won't close at my number at this state until or unless I get pain. So either we have to re-engage the conversation because you're stuck in this mode, which is super normal. By the way, it is not uncommon for people in real painful circumstances to be unwilling to reveal it, and then you don't get my number. But I always leave that carrot to know, because they will, again, the pattern there, I see it every time. People go, yep, I guess it's not for me. I'm not wasting my time on that lead. Now, they might get marketing and follow up just because who knows, they could change circumstances. But I'm not thinking this person's selling anytime soon if I do the things the way I do it. If I do things the way I do it, they might be like, yeah, I guess not right now. And that's okay. That's not a no. That's not actually disqualified. That's a follow up. And the chance of them answer, I'll have them save my number. What I do is I have this whole process of planting doubt for all the other investors they're going to talk to. So I implant doubt about that. Like, hey, like look out for this. We call it scorching the earth. Is a whole process we go through to make sure that they don't go with anyone else besides us. So we get calls back all the time, or did when we were buying houses, because we like make them nervous about this in a contract, make them worried if they do this. The real goal to me is like, if you ever get the feeling like, hey, they changed the number on you, or like it's suddenly like it doesn't make sense what they're saying, or they're promising something that's not being happened, like that usually means it's time to run for the hills. I just ask you save me as Ian house buyer, and you call me back. Even if you just want another pair of eyes to review the contract, I'm happy to do that for you. As you know, the experience here, I did not try and lowball you. I didn't try and force you to follow a process that didn't make sense for you. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I just want to be a resource to make sure you're not taken advantage of by some kid in his basement. Guess who gets a call back? Guess who can position himself as the authority? The amount of you hear about how many deals are done in the follow up. If I didn't give my number, who do you think they call when they get a bad number from someone else?
Yeah.
And then it's an inbound lead instead of an outbound, which changes the energy of the conversation.
Yeah, as opposed to just another jerk.
Yep. So, and then the dynamic, the relationship of that call is completely different. Now they're coming asking for help. They're asking for advice instead of, well, pay my number or don't waste my time.
So a question I have, because that's not a going line with an inbound. Do you handle these guys different when it's an outbound? Call it a cold call or an SMS lead, where they weren't thinking of selling. That's what they tell you, at least.
Yes. So what's really different is this conversation was a sales conversation, because this guy had no, this was trying to buy the thing. Cold calling, genuine outbound, like your effort. We bought a list and your effort is the first time you got in touch with them, is not sales. It is human powered marketing. Your job is just to qualify them to get in front of them later at another time, hopefully as soon as possible. But like, it's not to buy the home right then and there. You will get them from time to time. You'll stumble into like one cold call closes, but they're unicorns in real estate. They really are.
Right.
You don't want to build a business off of that.
Just to clarify, I meant, like it initially was a cold call or an SMS, and you brought it to your lead manager, and they followed up, and then they were finally ready to sell. But at the core of it, so it's not the initial call, but at the core of it, they weren't thinking of selling. At least that's what they say.
Well, so I will stress test that. I was like, should it be clear? If we hadn't called you, you wouldn't even be on your mind for any reason to consider selling at all. And
Okay,
usually
so
people are like, oh, I thought about it. Okay. And then I go, okay, how long have you thought about it for? How long were you thinking about it before I called? What made you first think about it? What were you thinking? Oh, you got to because you got credit card bills, and I'll find a pain, and I can get you emotional about the pain. Because the reality is that they got their guard up. But most people, by even being willing to go through this process, like going through more steps and being willing to do it, is an aspect of qualification, right? It's adherence to a process that shows they're willing to do it. You'll see this in online funnels, like the nature of why the upsells are more at the end than the start, because you've already clicked a bunch of things and decided to pay, even though the card hasn't been charged yet. The same thing is true in actual conversations. The more they're going through it, the more it shows they're ready to. So like, for instance, if someone calls a realtor, if anyone here is a realtor who just like acts as a buyer's agent, you should always, if you have an office, always have people who want to see a property meet you at your office, because the numbers on this are really clear. If you meet them at the house, you've got like a 40% chance of them using you if they're not buying that house. If they meet you at your office and then you drive together to that house to look at it, the number is like 85+% that they'll use you. By even just holding this process, which is very low resistance, it greatly increases the chance, because it showed they were willing to come to your office. And you can think, well, no, they're ready to go right now. Yeah, but the chances that you're just wasting your time instead of actually setting yourself up for success is profound. I'd rather say, hey, come to my office. Come to my office. We'll go over everything about this property and see if it makes sense for you. That's how we always do it. I'm not aggressive to push for a yes. This is how we do that. This is just how we do stuff. I want to show it to you. You have to come here first and we'll go together. It's only 5 minutes away. By assertive to the process that we know works. Process beats charisma. So the charisma I can do for my internal stuff, and I've got tonality to do it, but the process actually beats it. The two combined is why I'm deadly.
That was killer, man. That was an awesome role play. I'm gonna step down because I don't know what the
pleasure, yeah, you did. So I can tell you really. I'll tell you this. I can tell you're really having conversations, because that was a very realistic. That's super realistic. Like, that's not an unrealistic level of resistance. You get that all the time.
Ricky buys houses.
Yeah, I just try to emulate it best.
What was that? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Ricky.
That was John.
Oh, okay, cool, awesome. Thanks, Rick. Pretty Ricky.
Fellas.
Take care, Ricky. Hey, that was a great call. I love that call. That was very realistic, like Ian said. We know Ricky buys houses. He's really doing these deals. So tap in with Ricky. Anything in Georgia, keep him in mind.
To me, that's the bet. Honestly, the only way I can ever tell if someone's really doing it is to role play with them, because it's when they are the homeowners. It shows, like, the best thing also is when it shows that if I ask a question, like, people bring to me circumstances of like, oh, I'm talking to this guy and he's going to say this, and I say this thing and it's different from how they said it. If it shows that they can react differently than how just saying what the person said to them because they asked a different question, to me, that is the clearest indicator that they're actually doing it, because they actually understand that they didn't ask that question and the person would respond differently than just responding to what they already heard. It's the most profound, like, it's the weirdest thing for me to, like, I can tell if someone's actually doing it from that example. It's a little hack that if you ever tell, just role play with someone like, oh, I can tell you're actually buying houses or doing deals versus you're talking about it.
No, absolutely. No, we do a good job of vetting the people in the community. Ricky, he's
amazing.
Active.
Well, no, I mean, all these people, it's not a knock. I'm trying to be clear. If you're on this, I'm not saying like, how dare you guys be on this call if you're not actively doing deals. You're in the right place to learn. It's not meant to be a critique. I'm just like, my advice is not fit. It's not ideal, I should say, for someone who's brand new, because it's too advanced. I'm covering too many things. You need someone to like hold your hand through simpler steps first. So it's almost an aspect of qualification just to make sure I push away people who are just getting started. It's not a critique of you. It's just like other people will be more helpful to you. I don't want to answer the basic questions. I'm more interested in the more advanced stuff.
No, I think that was phenomenal. And I think the way that you made it simple, for everybody to understand, I think at any level, somebody that watches this call, saw that replay, the way that you paused while you were on the replay, it will be very self-explanatory, especially for the people just getting started. I think at any level, you will be able to understand and take something away from that call to immediately implement in the next call, right? And that's one thing that I honestly have never seen somebody do, is break down the nuance. And that's something very difficult.
It's all I do, man.
Yeah,
that's all I do. I do that 3 times a week. Yeah, so it's the rarest. It's the rarest skill. There are plenty of people who have the nuance, but they can't explain why they did it or why it works. So my brain that's part of the reason I'm training the AI, because my whole thing is systems thinking. It's like, again, real estate is a widget for me. All I'm interested in is persuasion, influence. Like, that's all I'm really interested in. Like, what drives people to make decisions? who are people, who are at their core, what are their traumas, what's their past, what are their aspirations, how can you tap into that, how can I identify it, how can I find a framework that can group people together so the same messaging can work for multiple people. That's what fascinates me. And so part of my skill set, and Steve has this too, I will think I'm a little bit better at this one part of it. He's actually better at following a process and doing that for a group to train on like a structured curriculum. You probably can tell from my talking, I'm way more like all over the place. I'm more like the artist throwing paint at a canvas and hoping it turns out into something good. And he's very much more engineer brain methodical, but we both have the ability to do the thing at a high level and then break it down and explain it. So like I did a thing for our internal team today. I'm having a deja vu. Oh, this was for my group today. So, because I already explained this to a different group. Sorry, this is like my 7th hour on camera today. So the big, like, we got asked because we've got this AI thing that we do that like scores calls and does his lead manager, calls people, does all that stuff, and has role play bots you can role play with to get better. And to be fair, it's like priced for businesses. It's really expensive. So I'm not trying to like promote anyone here to necessarily do that. But one of the things someone on our internal sales team asked today was from one of the business owners he was talking to. He asked the question, does this work in California? Right? Like the lead manager to doing the calling. Sorry, my mistake. He asked the question, how many clients do you have who are using this in California? And we train on understanding the question behind the question, because that's not really the question, right? If I tell him 7 or 72 or none, it's like that's not really the question. That's not what he needs to know. What he's thinking is, can I use this? Does this relate to me? Is this going to work for me? But that's the question underneath the question. The reality is there's also layers deeper in it. Anytime anyone's asking a surface level question where you can say, what makes you bring that up now? And they go, just curious. There's usually 2 layers underneath that question. The one is that one. How does this relate to me? Right? So like the way we would train him to deal with that is, yeah, it's interesting. I hadn't been asked that before about a certain state, and that's coming up for you now because, and then he'll tell you, well, I want to make sure it works for me. I think California buyers are special, whatever. But also, everyone thinks their market is special. And the reason they think their market is special and harder, whether it's California or Dallas or South Florida or New England. Yeah, but you haven't talked to people in New England. No, but in California, where our houses are worth more, they know more. Oh, no, but in Georgia, they'll talk your ear off. It's hard to get them back on track. Everyone thinks their thing is special. The reason they think their thing is special and difficult and harder than other people is it's a self-justification for seeing people doing better and thinking that's why I'm not doing better. We all have this, it's a pattern. We all represent, it's like, no, I've got unique and beautiful circumstance. I'm a beautiful and unique snowflake, and so is my market. And so the reality is he has an identity thing where he thinks he's special. And so he's asking that question to like, because he doesn't know how to say, I don't understand this thing. I'm confused by it. How do I feel certainty in it? He says, how many people do you have in California? And so it's all breaking down whatever the question is, whatever the circumstance, whatever you're selling, whatever the thing, like there are patterns and stuff underneath regarding the emotion, the identity of that person. And most of the stuff, the deeper layer is usually identity based, right? People pay more for identity than utility. So I'll repeat this until I die. My favorite example of this is like Arnold Schwarzenegger doesn't drive a Hummer because he needs leg room. He does it because of the movie playing in his head about who he is, right? Like the reason some guy drives one car instead of another is not because it goes so fast. You've never driven it that fast. It's the identity and what that represents. People pay more for identity. When you hear about people who, and I'm sure many people in this group have this thought of like, well, why go to be a doctor for all these years and take all this debt when I can make that money right now? Well, to them and their families, it might be that being a doctor, that identity is worth more than the utility of being an entrepreneur who makes more. People pay more for identity than utility, understanding that it also holds them back more. So identity is the single greatest hidden decision-making factor that anyone ever deals with. And so when you understand, when someone says one thing, it is representative of a version of their identity, I wouldn't go, hey, your identity is this. That's not the right assuming, because it's just, they're not thinking of it consciously, right? It's all happening in the subconscious. but principally, now I'm starting to understand you, and I can start positioning my language in ways that will align with that identity to make you feel better. So, for instance, there was a customer I was coaching. It was a woman who was she needed to close in like 14 days because she hadn't paid her daughter's college, and her daughter was going to get kicked out of college, and she didn't have the cash to pay the tuition. And I coached him on this idea because she was getting like overwhelmed and wanting to like shop around and like, okay, and asking her like really like first we did this whole thing of like, all right, it's your daughter's future worth is this and all that. I had him ask the question of if it was 10 years from now, you try and go get more money instead of moving forward with me and trying to maybe hold out for 10,000 more, and worst case scenario, you're not able to. And you're having the conversation with your daughter about this moment where you're trying to hold out for maybe 5 or 6 thousand more, an amount that got her kicked out of school after all her studying, all her hard work, and you had to tell her about this decision right now in this moment. How would you want that conversation to go? I made it a present tense moment, and she's like, and the answer's like, man, that's really tough. And the identity right now, she's not feeling like a good mom. I'm like, of course it's tough. You're a good mom. You care about your daughter. You're trying to make the right decision for her. That's implanting. Right? No one's thinking you're forcing me, but now the thumb is on the scale because they're like, yeah, I am a good mom. Well, what would a good mom do? The mom would sell the house now instead of waiting. This is all the stuff that we train on. It's deeper layer stuff. It's hard to get into little Q&A stuff.
No, this is
This is most
great.
of the
This
stuff.
is great. This is the real sauce, ladies and gentlemen. I'm telling you, you got to invite somebody to come and be in this room right now. This is the real sauce.
Yeah. It's really like understanding this is your identity. How can I tap into that? How can I stroke your ego in a way that also aligns with wanting to sell the home? So it feels like, oh, I'm struggling with this identity to feel like a good mom. Of course you're struggling with it. You're a good mom. You're trying to do what's right for her, which would mean selling to me right now instead of waiting. And also what's really key here in the nature of that question, as I made it a present tense question. People deal with emotion in the present and past tense. They don't deal with it in the future tense. So when you're trying to ask someone the question of like, oh, you're gonna like. I always like to try and spend the money too for people who have anything aspirational. So like with the example with Pretty Ricky, what I would have gone to is like, okay, if like we were off on the price, say, I would have had it like, okay, if we're able to like, say, like, what are you going to spend that money on? Like, especially now that you're trying to free yourself of this burden of the memories of this house. Well, I don't have any medical debt, but I might buy a new car. Okay. What new car are you going to get? Like make them spend the money and then put them in the present tense moment so they can feel that moment. So, okay, it's 3 months from now. You're sitting in the new Ford that you've been wanting to get. It's like you got the rims that you wanted. You're driving free of the memory of that burden, cruising down your favorite street, windows down, favorite song. What's your favorite song, Ricky? You tell me the song that's playing on the like through this brand new sound system. How are you feeling in this moment? Okay. Now, the reality is, it's that you've heard this. Most people have heard this idea. People buy emotionally and justify logically, but we're not actually selling the emotion because that implies they don't feel the emotion. The best thing is to give them a taste of the emotion, give them a little like glimmer of it. Like the idea of like people pay more for identity and utility. The reason I have a nice watch on. It's not the utility of this watch, right? Like it's the identity of I'm the person who gets to wear this watch. I'm no different than anyone else. I fall victim to the same thing, even though can I identify it? But when you go to buy a Rolex, one of the first things they do is have you try it on and see yourself in the mirror and like walk around in it. And then you get a moment. The good salespeople will tell you, like, imagine you walked into your college reunion wearing this. Imagine you had that on, right? So now what happens when you leave this? They give you a taste of the feeling of the identity and emotional shift if you'd already bought. And now when you leave the store, it's not, I'm going to sell you the feeling of having made it. You already got a glimpse of that feeling. And instead, you risk losing that feeling when you leave the store. And loss aversion is a far more powerful motivator than gain. And so I always want to place them in a present tense moment so they feel the emotion and then take it away. Yeah. Anyway, that's some of the stuff I'm doing.
That's really powerful, to be mindful that this is happening, right? I feel like a lot of people that do have that nuance, these are things that just happen for them, but they don't understand why they're better than so many other people, that they watch, try to do sales. It's because they don't realize that this is happening, right? So to be able to be conscious of this is crazy, and to share that, with everybody to understand what's actually happening is huge, because you're literally pulling the curtains back and showing people what's actually happening during these conversations.
So you're 100% right, John. And like it's weird because like my program's called objection proof selling, and it's like for individuals, but like the reality is it's not really sales training. What I'm trying to do is teach people how to think about persuasion, like how to think about influence, like how do I think about this? How should I think? How should I get about analyzing people, about understanding their circumstances, what drives them, what pulls them away from things. And my thought process is, because most sales training is like, oh, you got this objection, say this. But then objections change, industries change. Like not everyone in this is going to be in real estate forever, or at least not the way they're doing it now. Like it's just an inevitability. So I'm trying to teach the skills of understanding how to drive people and how to think about it so that you can sell like you instead of trying to sell like me. It's like trying to be a mini version of me. You'll be like it's like an AI version, like a clone of a clone, right? Like it's not you will always be more effective selling as the best version of yourself. And then to adapt what I do in my language and how I talk and how I think for how you talk and who you talk to and how you think, but you orient about how to think about this the right way. In my mind, is how people become the best possible version of themselves as deeply influential people who can close anything they want. They can close a deal, they can close a sale, they can close whatever. And so that's what I try and impart for people.
I'm blown away, man. I love it. I think this is fantastic. And
there's a reason I'm able to live in Portugal.
Yeah,
and provide for myself. Like I could come. It's like it's crazy because like it's gonna sound crazy, but I realized about a year ago, I was like, oh man, I can just conjure money out of thin air.
Yeah.
Because I was selling to my program before, and it was like it sounds conceited. This is also, I have the authority thing too. So it's also compounded even on top of that. But I was like, oh, I can just if I just get on a call. Like we hired a new marketing guy and he was running calls. So he's like watching the Fathom recordings of me having done this. And he's like, I have never, we had a setter who was not doing a good job. So he hopped on. He's like, what do you guys do? I don't know what this is about. And he's like, I've never seen anyone where neither of you had any notes, and in under 45 minutes, you took like a credit card payment for $5,000. He's like, I've never seen that done before. It's like, yeah, I know how to run I have a framework. I ran it. I just I get them to feel emotional. I'm working on a book called Guided Persuasion, which is all the little nuances of how I do things. Because the whole thing is like how to make them feel like it was their idea, how to implant ideas, how to use language that relates to them where it bypasses it. How do I not show the seams of the sale? Right. So here's a classic example. When we did this AI webinar promoting this thing, I was trying to figure out how to, and I think of this in real time. So it's everything I do with intentionality, which was like, okay, how do I don't want to seem like a pressure tech, because Steve's like, hey, we're not a pressure sales tech. If it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. I was like, okay, let me hop on that. But my job is to be more emotional than Steve and to drive more stuff than Steve, very logical Steve. So I was like, okay, how can I play on that? But also this is like a peek behind the curtain of like how I'm thinking in the moment to be as persuasive as possible. So this is truly a peek behind the curtain. I haven't told anyone this, but this is how I think at all times. It's like doing this meta analysis while talking, because it wasn't like a script for the webinar. I just thought this up. I said, yeah, listen, again, to repeat what Steve said, we're not a pressure sales sector. The reality is we've got enough people signing up for this, and onboarding, though it's quick, is complicated enough for us that if it doesn't work for you, that's totally fine. We got enough people backlog on it. But if you're thinking okay, I'm aware AI is a rocket ship, and then I want to hop onto this thing before it leaves the stratosphere and escape velocity, then book a call and see if the team can help you. But we will not pressure you. Why is that? It's really important. I used visual imagery, so it makes it easier for people to feel it. And what's most important in making it feel like it was their idea in persuasion stuff is what's not said. So what's not said means what's implied, what is implied by that. So what's implied by that is a statement that people have resistance to because they've heard it before and they don't, which is don't get left behind. But I didn't say don't get left behind. I just said, yeah, it's like we don't need it. We've got enough people. If you want to hop on the rocket ship before it leaves, like you're welcome to, but it's okay if you don't want to. So I'm demonstrating non-neediness at the same time of implanting the thought, I don't want to get left behind without saying it directly so they don't have resistance to it. And I do that at all. I'm very strategic about it. Like when the first time I presented at Collective Genius, I spent the longest time on my about me slide. So like to show all my accomplishments and what I've done and who I work with and stuff. And I put it up, so it was like filled out, and I put it up there, and it was really intentional. Like, I started by going, and I find the like give me authority page to be super boring. So like you can look at the slide later if you want to do it. Let's skip it along and go through it, and clicked onto a way simpler slide. It was intentional to show, wow, look at all the work and stuff he put into it, and he skipped over the part about him because he finds it boring to talk about his authority. Now what happens is they get the sensation of, oh my God, look at that. There was so much of that. So I didn't even get to read everything he did. And it feels in their mind, it feels even bigger than what I covered because I put so much into it. But I did it quickly because I didn't want them to read it. So it's this idea of like tapping into that. And then what's really interesting is that maybe only 30% of the group might notice that. The real hack is to call out what I just did. So if I go, what I'm doing to you guys here, if I start to go, hey, what I just did, that was intentional. This is like showing the magic trick as you're doing the magic trick, which then gets 100% of people paying attention. And they also pay more attention to your conversation because they start thinking what many of you guys are thinking of. What else is Ian doing that I'm not noticing? So then they pay more attention and take my words more seriously. So there's all these little ways you can play with attention. Like I do a trick, call out the trick. It gives me even more authority than the trick. And now I got everyone's attention. So anyway, that's how I work.
I think the
Took my
chat. I
horse's
think the
water.
chat can agree. This has definitely been one of the best podcasts we've had in a long time. Ladies and
Yeah,
gentlemen,
so
we've got
I wanted
50
to comment on one
people,
thing.
over 50
Lee
people
Regan
joining
says,
us right now. I want to really highlight, everybody that stuck around to this point. All the people that were maybe on, maybe heard a little bit of the role play, that jumped, they are not getting the information that Ian is sharing with us right now. So I want to congratulate everybody that's joining us and has been with us throughout the entire stream. You guys are legendary, truly revolutionary.
I want to comment on it, definitely. Liam said this feels illegal, and then Rogue Steve made the comment. It's up to you. This is what happens when you get deep into persuasion psychology. It's up to you to use it for good. Yes, the difference between manipulation and influence is intent. I'm just teaching tools. These are all just tools. I can't like I can I within my program I talk a lot about like doing stuff for good, but I'm just aware that it's like it's almost a wasted endeavor, right? Like to me, it's a little bit like I very much understand why religion has to cover morality. Of course, it helps people how to live. But there are many people who are religious, but they're not moral at all. In fact, they use their religion as a mask for their immorality. And so to me, it's like people are going to behave the way they do. Let me just give you the tools and hopefully you use it for the best. But like I'm careful around. I try to tell people like you want to use these tools for good. So don't screw people over. Excuse me, losing my voice after now. That's 7 hours on camera talking all the time. Don't screw people over. Do what's the best. To me, I always like to act like, again, whether you think in a higher power or however you want to operate, I just treat it like my mom's watching everything I do. Steve's the same way. I'm like, if I just have to be accountable to my mom, the higher power, I'm like, well, I can atone for that later. If my mom's watching everything I do, my mom won't forget that thing I did. So I got to make sure I act with my best intentions at all times. It's accountable to my ghost mom hovering over me. I told my mom that, and she was like, "You tell ghost mom thing?" I was like, "People are gonna think I'm dead." I'm like, "You are when you're watching over me do stuff." So make sure I do you proud. She's like, "What are you talking about?" Yeah. Anyway, anything else before we wrap up?
No, man, I want to extend, sincere gratitude for you, Ian, for reaching out and coming on to the podcast and sharing, with everybody what you've shared with us. For the people, that have paid attention the entire time and are, wanting to apply this, one of the things that you brought up was the way that you position yourself, to be more influential, right? And you did that in your example by blowing past your slide, and that created the gap, for people to want to pay more attention. What are some other things that people could do to immediately demand authority and attention from others?
It's all variations of the non-neediness. That's all that was. That's just I didn't realize it would become the non-neediness episode because it's only just like one of like 10 things that I focus on all the time. I've got 10, like 9 others besides that one. But again, not like non-neediness is to me what defines success. It's like I don't need them. Like I got enough money. I don't need the money. Like I don't feel that way, but I act that way. I act that way all the time. Like I've hit the first point where I had to turn down someone offering me $20,000 for like probably 16 hours of work, and I've been like, for most of my consulting stuff, I've been pricing myself at $1,000 an hour. I was like, oh my God, I'm turning down more than that. That was a kind of a mindset shift for someone who used to work in bookstores in New York and Boston and stuff, getting paid. One of the stores I was getting paid under $10 an hour, and I had to turn down over $1,000 an hour because it was too much of a distraction. So it's the point of like understanding that like the universe recognizes actions. So act as the person you want to be. And so who's the best version of yourself that you could one day be? How would he or she act in this moment? It's just that, because that what it will be for you will be different for me. So the specific like tactic I could give you, that's trying to be a version of me. Most of you might never think to gloss over a slide. Maybe you're proud of the slide, and the best version of yourself is going to spend all the time talking about the thing. Or maybe you spend an extra time talking about your kids in the slide rather than talking about your accomplishments. That's the flex. Talking about your kid. Whatever it is for you is fine. It's like I'm not trying to tell anyone how to live or how to live their life. It's always just the idea of like act with intentionality, and the best version of yourself is someone you can try and emulate today. If you emulate them for long enough, you become them.
Beautiful. How can people stay in touch with you, man? Where do they go to follow you
The
and
only
keep up with Ian
place
Ross?
where my assistant has not yet taken over is my Instagram. So Vivid Selling on Instagram. That's my sales framework. Vivid Selling is the only place you can like. That's me still on it for now. Anyway, everything else, phone, text, like goes through my assistant. Instagram's still me. And then I have to start it up again because I haven't done it since I moved here. But the Close More Sales podcast is a deep dive. Like every episode is, in my opinion, about as deep as this. Maybe not quite as much, but I try and make every episode to be listened to multiple times. So if you were like, oh my God, I want more of that idea, most of it's talking head stuff. I would prepare the episode an hour before we recorded it.
We got your biggest fan in the audience right here, Mr. Liam Regan.
That's
He's
awesome.
in the audience.
Yeah, like so it's recorded in the exact same studio that Steve was for Disruptors. It's the exact same setup. I'm gonna try and set one up over there. I think a green screen to be the equivalent. I had a videographer here, but like just kind of part-time, still trying to figure that out. So yeah, the Close Myself podcast is where to get more of this, but Instagram is the best way to reach out to me. That's where I'm still available.
Tap in with Ian, ladies and gentlemen. I dropped his Instagram at Vivid Selling. And man, shout out to Steve as well for doing all the stuff Steve's done, because he's definitely opened up doors for me, opened up doors for you and everybody, in the community as well. So really grateful. I just saw PDRE shout out Steve. Gotta shout out Steve Trang, man.
Yeah, surround yourself with people who like would rather give than take. It's one of the best. Like your life will level up so much, and because it's like the idea of we all heard that like you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If you spend more time with people who give rather than take, excuse me, you start to give. When you start to give is when you actually get, not when you take. So like if you're trying to, it's another reverse hack. Like, wait, act like I have $1 million before I have $1 million. Act like I give before, and I still feel like I need to take. It is the hack. Be charitable when you can't afford it. Like give your time when time is low. Like I need to be sleeping right now. I got two little kids that are going to wake me up in 2 hours. Like my little one's teething, but like John's a good friend. I wanted to make sure I just wanted to hop on. I'm not trying to promote anything. It's literally just like, let's provide value because I believe doing this enough times will give me things. It's not going to give me anything now. I won't even be able to measure it if I just maintain this energy and attitude of like, whose community can I hop on and add value to? With no ask, no demand, no request, no nothing. I mean, just give more. Like the universe recognizes that and will reward you.
Well, I recognize that as well. So I appreciate you, Ian. Thank you for coming.
Cool, man. You got it. All right. Take care, everyone.
Have a great night, Ian. Ladies and gentlemen,
See you.
If you haven't already, you got to invite somebody you think would benefit from being in proximity with us. Send them that link. Send them to reirev.com or to join us on Discord at discord.gg/reirev. This is the #1 most valuable real estate community in existence. You got to implement the instructions that were just shared with you on this interview, or this time would have been wasted. Keep making calls, keep your house clean, and keep showing up to these podcasts because they will change your life. Love y'all.